You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, like some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And we're back. We're coming at you a little early here with the injury report and then all the mashups of MVPs and hot takes for you because we gotta get this little podcast recorded and posted a little early here because we have this for main course, for Saints game against the New York Giants at home at noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday coming up. But the Saturday before that, we have a UFC 320. So we'll be getting you the clarifications, the updates on if they make all the weights and stuff like that. So we know for sure that the main card's the main card because we know how people like to miss weight and then the whole card is swapped around. So I have to wait till Friday to make sure everyone for UFC 320 makes weight. But we'll come at you a little bit early with this main course of the Saints versus the Giants. But we'll have some appetizers for you tomorrow with some mixed martial arts and UFC. But let's get into this. We got some long injury reports here. I mean, I don't think they look really any more serious than they have most of the year, but there's a lot of limited practices and rest days, and the the Giants have a really long injury list, but it's a lot of limited players, and there's some players on the Saints list of people that should have already been put on injured reserve. But anyways, we're coming at you with some main course here. So let's get into this injury report for the Saints versus Giants at home in the Superdome at the noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So let's get it. So can I get a menu? And so, like I was stating, the Saints injury report is pretty long, but it hasn't really changed a whole lot besides Cesar Ruiz going down with the high ankle sprain, which it looks like he's probably, my calculations for it, they're saying 4 to 6 weeks, but it's like 4 to 6 weeks or his season's probably over, depending on how many wins the Saints have by week 10 or 11. But anyways, let's just start at the top here. So we had a tight end, Juwan Johnson, popped up on the injury report on Wednesday and didn't practice, but hopefully some good news. He returned to practice on Thursday, and hopefully that continues to improve going into Friday. And so I don't have, I take that back. I actually do have some game status on a couple of these players, which is kind of wild that the game status has come out on a couple of these players already. That kind of tells you whatever injury that they're dealing with is serious, and they already know both of these guys have like no chance at playing. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But then you had a left guard, Trevor Penning, ankle. Didn't practice Wednesday, but was limited, just like Juwan Johnson, was limited Thursday, and hopefully that improves, And then these are the ones, all three of these guys coming up are already listed as out. But you had O-line, Dylan Raduns, toe, didn't practice Wednesday, didn't practice Thursday, and he's already been labeled as out. He's going to be out for this game by Kellen Moore. He already clarified that. And then center guard, Cesar Ruiz, dealing with a high ankle sprain, and he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday, and we already know he's out. Kind of be kind of surprised he's not been put on IR already. Kind of like this next player should have already been put on IR. There's no reason he should be missing his fifth game and actually still be on the active roster. And I'm talking about defensive end Chase Young going into his fifth game. We already know he was out on Wednesday. Kellen Moore was already telling us he's out, not like no chance. So it's just so confusing as to why he wasn't put on IR week one, so they could go out and sign a veteran, at least have someone fill that spot, and just wasting a roster spot, having Chase Young there and going in on missing his fifth day. So I really don't know how to take that. Does that mean like they expect he's actually going to come back, or is he going to miss three more games, or should they just put him on IR? It's very confusing, the calf that we all know, Chase Young, but he didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday, and I don't even we know he's not going to practice Friday, so he's out. He's out already. So it must not be anything serious, I guess. Assume that's what I've been told. But no Chase Young. But kind of like with most of these players, it's like with Chase Young, we don't know what we're missing anyways. We haven't seen it this year anyways. And hell, the Saints pass rush pressures, sack numbers were pretty good last week against the Buffalo Bills. And I think Jackson Jart, he got sacked like 5 times last week against the Chargers, which I know the Chargers have a much better team overall and a much better defense than the Saints. But maybe that means the Saints might be able to get after him a little bit. And these are the two that I'm not real sure about. I said on our previous podcast when we got kind of the news that these guys were starting to practice again, I was thinking like, it won't be until almost the 21st day of when they need to be activated or they're going on season IR. Like I was going to find it very hard to believe that these two guys were actually going to play this week. But there's quite a few Saints media people that are acting and talking like they are, but I guess I'll have to see it. But they actually have him listed as a Q quarterback here, but he hasn't really been officially listed as one for a while. But he is on the Saints injury report. But Taysom Hill, quarterback, knee was limited Wednesday, limited and Thursday, and it's not Friday, so I don't really have the game status yet. But I mean, he had a ACL injury surgery back December 1st, so that was 10 months ago. So I mean, there's been some improvements in you used to, if you tore ACL, it used to have to be like a year, like guaranteed, like you're done for like a year. And then and then the whole story was you won't and then after that you won't be completely healthy or 100% right until like 2 years. But hell, you've seen guys come back from ACL injuries in what, like 6-7 months now. It's kind of odd. But yeah, Taysom Hill is on here. He's back at practicing. If nothing else, if you're looking to search for a little bit of positive in the Saints dilemma and Saints season, the 2025 season, you can take positives in Taysom Hill and Foster Moreau coming back and starting to practice. But with the knee, Taysom was limited Wednesday and Thursday, and then you had tight end Foster Moreau, same thing, knee limited Wednesday and Thursday, and he Taysom Hill's was like December 1st, so his was 10 months ago, and then Foster Moreau's was somewhere in the whatever week 18 of the 2024 season. Well, that must have been like around January 1st. So he's is just 9 months, and they has him listed as limited Wednesday and Thursday. For me, I'd be kind of blow my mind honestly if both of them end up playing. But I guess we'll see, and hey, it'll be some much needed and appreciated reinforcements coming back. Maybe it'll inject some life into this Saints offense, and if nothing else, some veteran leadership. In the huddle. I mean, you can't do without. You can't do with too much of that, and the Saints need that. I think that would help a lot, having two respected veterans like Taysom Hill and Foster Moreau back in the lineup, even if they don't get a lot of snaps or touches. I think just them being active and being around the team, even though they've been on the sidelines, but they've been in, sweatsuits and stuff and not doing a whole lot. But that might be something, might be one of the few things to get excited about this season if and when Taysom Hill and Foster Moreau come back. And then you have a wide receiver, Trey Palmer, ankle was limited Wednesday and then didn't practice Thursday. And then obviously there's nothing for Friday. I don't know how Trey Palmer keeps getting banged up and beat up. He doesn't even play. So I'm not too concerned with Trey Palmer if he ends up missing time because he hasn't played at all this year anyways. And then you have safety, Justin Reed, a knee was limited Wednesday and then was full Thursday. So that's positive. And then you have defensive tackle, John Ridgway, the third shoulder was limited Wednesday and then was full Thursday. So that's some more positive. And heck, this here is even positive. Cornerback Isaac Yadam, hamstring was limited Wednesday but didn't practice Friday, and I'm perfectly fine with that. You can just go ahead and get rid of him and feed me more Quincy Riley because I want that fourth round comp pick, and I want to see the development of Quincy Riley over this bum veteran and Isaac Yadam. So if it's a real injury or not a real injury, I don't really care. I just don't want to see him starting over any Saints defensive back because, like I said, I want that fourth round comp pick. And then this one had me a little concerned. It kind of popped up late on the Saints injury report, and it had me concerned with the Saints running game because he's been an integral part of why it's become decent. It was good. It was good against the 49ers and it was good against the Seahawks, but they did give up quite a few rushing yards to the Cardinals and the Cardinals and the Bills last week. They gave up 100+ yards and a couple touchdowns, but yeah, I felt that you could see the improvement already to some extent in a couple games with the addition of defensive tackle Devin Gotchu. But it ended up it's just a rest, not injury related rest, veteran rest day. So he practiced Wednesday, but didn't practice Thursday. But should be, unless something pops up on Friday, he should be able to play. So that one had me a little scared in regards to is the Saints the ass end going to completely fall out of the Saints run defense if they don't have them. But I guess we don't have to worry about that, I guess, at least for another week. All right, so that's the Saints injury report. It's long, but we kind of already knew most of it. It really hasn't changed. It looks like most of the new players that have popped up there are just limited or full practice dealing with something, but probably not something serious enough for them to miss a game. So besides not having Cesar Ruiz, that'll really only be the change in the game day rosters, really, which is disappointing. We got to see the starting five for a half, and then very Saintsy that came to a screeching halt real fast. But now then, let's get on to the New York Giants injury report, which is very long as well. But I don't think there's quite as many that are. A lot of them are just limited to full, and probably limited, and then it'll be probably all full on Friday if I was to guess. But the Giants, regardless of that statement, they're already losing probably their best player. You could argue, definitely their best offensive player. They lost an LSU star and Malik Neighbors and wide receiver, a at least top 10 wide receiver in the league, tore his ACL against the Chargers. So, that's terrible. But hey, the Saints secondary, which is not good other than the safeties, it'd be nice then for them to not have to deal with that. Won't have to see Kool-Aid McKinstry constantly getting burned by Malik Neighbors. So that's kind of nice. It sucks to see such a great player and a LSU star receiver go down with an injury, but hey, I'm perfectly fine with not having the Saints getting absolutely owned by him for an entire game, and the connection from Dart to him, and have Dart tear the Saints up. And I'm so happy that he got his rookie debut against the Giants, or against the Chargers, because the Saints fans and Houdat, they know what it's like when facing rookie quarterbacks. I still wake up at night and have night sweats due to the 2014, was it 20, it's either 2012 or 2014 uh, game against RG3, Robert Griffin III, and the Saints just absolutely smoked through the air and on the ground by RG3. So I was really glad that they took that, and you wouldn't have heard the end of it in the news. You know, the New York news reporters and sports reporters. You would never have heard the end of it if the Giants and Dart went in there in his debut and lit the Saints up. Like, you'd still be seeing highlights of it. So thankfully that didn't happen, but it's still on the table if Dart goes out there and throws for more than 100 yards and has no touchdowns and doesn't get sacked 5 times like he did against the Chargers, and just they has a big game, because he really wasn't good against the Chargers. So if he actually comes in and has a game like that again, a good game against the Saints, then we may end up having to hear about it for a little while, but hopefully not. But let's get to the Giants injury report, because it is long as well. But defensive line, Dexter Lawrence, dealing with an illness, didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. But I would be surprised if an illness would keep Dexter Lawrence out of a game, because they still have Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Still have 3 days for him to get over whatever he's dealing with. And then you have a defensive back, uh, Tyler Nubin, groin, didn't practice Wednesday and then was limited Thursday. Then you have a running back, Tyrone Tracy, shoulder, didn't practice Wednesday and didn't practice Thursday. Then you have offensive lineman, Greg Van Roten, uh, non-injury related rest, didn't practice Wednesday, but then was full on Thursday. So kind of similar to Devin Gotchow. And then you had defensive back Devin Belton, shoulder, was limited Wednesday, limited Thursday. Then defensive lineman DJ Davidson, foot, limited Wednesday, limited Thursday. Defensive lineman Chauncey Golston, ankle, limited Wednesday, limited Thursday. Defensive back Javon Holland, calf/neck, limited Wednesday, limited Thursday. O-line John Michael Schmidt, ankle, limited Wednesday, limited Thursday. Defensive lineman Raheem Nunez Roches, foot, limited Wednesday, limited Thursday. Quarterback Jackson Dart, hamstring, full Wednesday, full Thursday. So just plays in one game. He's trying to truck and stiff arm linebackers, and got sacked 5 times and barely threw for 100 yards, and he's already hurt. Okay, wouldn't mind seeing a Saints defender lay a big hit on him. You know, not while he's in the pocket, but if he tries to take off running and doesn't slide, it would be really nice to see uh, Jonas Sanker do the hit, light him up with the hit stick. That would probably, even if the Saints don't win, that would make my day seeing that. And then running back Cam Scatterboo, knee, was full Wednesday, full Thursday. Quarterback Russell Wilson, ankle, who's just as of now is a backup, so it doesn't really matter too much, was full Wednesday and Thursday. And then O lineman Andrew Thomas popped up on their injury report, and it's like a foot/rest. But he practiced Wednesday, but then was out on, but then was limited on Thursday. So I mean, the majority of those that are all like limited through Wednesday and Thursday, and then will probably all be like full on Friday. And even if they're just still limited, I would still assume they're going to play, or they're game time decisions. So I mean, the Giants are relatively healthy, besides losing, like we said, losing probably their best offensive player and one of the best receivers in the league and Malik Neighbors. But hey, it might make things a little more enjoyable to watch for Saints fans, not having to watch Malik Neighbors just absolutely roast Kool-Aid McKinstry for 4 quarters. Or it could have been Quincy Riley, who we're going to get to see is going to get his first start of the year. But anyways, that's the injury report. So now it's time to get to MVPs, hot takes, and picks and scores here. Last week we went special teams with Blake Groupie, and we almost hit on that for our MVP, but then he had to have the kickoff after the Saints just scored a touchdown. He had to turn around and do a kickoff that comes up short, just 1 yard short of the landing zone, giving the football to start the drive at the 40-yard at the Bills' 40-yard line to start the drive. So that ended up making him uneligible for our MVP. So I think even before that we went to pick someone off defense. So we're going offense for our single MVP pick prior to this game, and I haven't picked him yet, but I've liked what I've seen from him. Looks pretty much the same, pretty much what I've always seen and known. Alvin Kamara, I haven't seen, doesn't look like he's washed or slowed down at all. He still has that great contact balance, and with the way the Saints, I just love the way the Saints are starting to use him and Kendra Miller together. But I'm going with Alvin Kamara as my MVP for this game. But it's not that I think that he's going to pick up 100 yards rushing or 100 yards receiving. I think like that's the only good part of the Giants defense is their defensive line basically, or their front seven. They have what for pass rushers. They have Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, the rookie, and then Dexter Lawrence, one of the best pass rushing defensive tackles in the league. So, I mean, they have a good front seven. So I feel as if that will maybe slow Alvin Kamara down a little bit on the ground, but because that pass rush is going to be getting after Spencer Rattler, I could see a lot of like quick dump offs and screens and stuff to Alvin Kamara. So I'm picking Alvin Kamara as my MVP, offensive MVP for this game. But I think he's probably going to just end up like with 100 yards from scrimmage. I expect him to have like around 50 yards rushing, 50 yards receiving, and we could throw in a touchdown with that. That'd be great. That'd kind of solidify this pick of the MVP. So that's my MVP, and obviously we'll have players of the game after post game. And now then on to hot takes. So my hot take for this one, it's kind of funny. I don't know if it's the media or if it's Jackson Dart or what they're trying. They're trying to have some type of Jackson Dart revenge game or something against the Saints. But I'm not buying into it at all, because I mean, there was 24 other teams that passed Jackson Dart in the draft, and if he's done enough studying and he was being realistic and real with himself, he had to know that the Saints weren't going to trade, or not going to trade, but weren't going to draft him with the 9th overall pick when you got guys like Kelvin Banks Jr., who are close to being like blue chip players, while he's a project quarterback. He's got a lot of moxie and all that, but I don't know. The media is trying to make it out as if this is some revenge game, or Jackson Dart has some chip on his shoulder because the Saints didn't pick him, or supposedly spent a lot of time with him during the draft process. But that happens all the time. You'll have guys that spend hours and several meetings with the team, and then the team never even talk to him again, after the draft in regards to drafting them. And then there's guys that never heard a peep out of a team and then end up getting drafted by them. So just miss me with that, because if that's the case, Jackson Dart, man, you're gonna have to have a chip on your shoulder every week for about 24 other teams that didn't draft you. So is that going to be a weekly thing? Just clown stuff, people trying to cause unnecessary drama when the Saints don't need any more drama. This team already has enough drama to deal with. So for my hot take for that, the Saints are going to keep Jackson Dart under 150 yards passing. Passing. I know he had some tendency in that game against the Chargers to take off running, and the Saints have had quite a bit of trouble just in history, just Saints history of stopping running quarterbacks and scrambling quarterbacks. So they may keep him under 150 yards passing, but he may end up going off for 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. But that hot take will still hit. And I just, like I said, I would really like to see Jackson Dart take off scrambling and decide not to slide and get lit up by Jonas Sanker or any of the Saints secondary players, Demario David and the Demario linebacker secondary players, Demario Davis. Just I would love to see him get hit sticked. Would be nice because that nonsense that they're trying to brew into this game is just clownish. So that's the one hot take, and then the other one, and we kind of mentioned this because we were kind of upset that we didn't get to see it in the Bills game when they were set up multiple times to attempt it, but they didn't do it. But we're gonna get it. We're gonna get at least one deep shot attempt to Rashid Shaheed. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to catch it. It's going to connect on it or they're going to score on it. But at least try it, attempt it, even if it gets picked off, at least try it. I mean, if you're starting drives at midfield, at first and goal at midfield or your own 45 or their 45, give me a deep shot to Rashid Shaheed. I need it. I need it. Like that's like this 2025 season's given us a lot and given us a lot of drama, but it hasn't given us really what we need. We need some deep shot to Rashid Shaheed. And if they feel Spencer Rattler doesn't have the arm strength or the deep ball accuracy, bring in Tyler Shuck for one play because I need to see a deep shot, at least one to Rashid Shaheed. And it would be amazing. It would be amazing if they connect on a 40-yard bomb for a touchdown or 40 plus, but that's what I need. We were crying last podcast about how we hadn't got it, but we need that. So I'm putting that out there as my hot take. We're gonna get one against the Giants, who they have a great front seven, mostly defensive line players, but their secondary is not any good. What you should do, because Rashid Shaheed knows this player, you should just throw it up against Paulson Debo, because if you don't get the completion, he'll probably draw a pass interference because he did a lot of that last year. He lost the Saints like 2 games early in the season last year before he broke his legs with pass interference, and he led all defensive backs in the league in pass interference. By the time he broke his leg, he was the leader in pass interference calls, either pass interference or defensive holding calls. So take a shot at the old friend Paulson Adebo. Maybe he'll give us one. Either the connection will happen or he'll draw a flag on him. So those are my hot takes. And then now to the pick and score. So it felt really early on, week 2 against an injured 49ers team. I thought it was going to be maybe not up until maybe this stretch against the Giants and the Bears and the Patriots. I didn't think maybe it would be so early until I actually picked the Saints to win a game. But it didn't happen. Sadly, it didn't happen against the 49ers, but took a couple more games off, some beatings against the Seahawks, and looked tough the first 3 quarters, or fought hard, or feisty the first 3 quarters or so against the Bills, but that kind of fell apart and didn't have a very attractive score at the end. But I guess I'm going to pick the Saints to win this game, but I kind of have to put a stipulation there on the score because the Saints haven't scored more than 20 points this year in any game. They only scored 20 points in the game against the 49ers, and every other game since then it's been under 20 points. They only scored 19 last week. So I got to put a stipulation on that. So I'm picking the Saints to win, but they're not scoring more than 20 points. So it's going to be the Saints 20, Giants 17. And I put this wild thought out there, or stipulation, or maybe build up to hopefully this win is that the Saints are going to get this score. They're going to come out hot and get the majority of their 20 points, probably in the first half, or early in the third. So they're going to have the 20 points that they need to win this game pretty early on. It might not even score any points in the fourth quarter is kind of what I'm saying. And for the first time all year, the Saints are going to have the lead in a game for the majority portion of the game, and it'll be actually the Giants who are the ones fighting and clawing to come back, and they're going to give Saints fans cardiac arrest because they're going to have a couple chances at the end of the game where it looks like the Giants are almost about in field goal range, or maybe looking like they're moving to get a touchdown, but the Saints defense is going to hold up, or the Giants kicker is going to miss a kick to tie at the end of the game, and the Saints are going to get their first win of the 2025 season. So that's your injury report and your whole mashup for the Saints game again, Saints home game versus the New Orleans Saints home game versus the New York Giants, which is Sunday, October 5th, 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern time at the Caesars Superdome. So I'm excited for it, and obviously just watch and listen to the podcast. The main thing I want to see, I really just want the garbage and the trash talk and the false chip on the shoulder and the revenge game that they're trying to mash up for Jackson Dart. I just want to see, I just want to see Jackson Dart get jacked up. That would make me happy. Even if the Saints lose, if Jackson Dart gets jacked up at least one time and doesn't hurt him, doesn't injure him, but maybe has to come out a couple snaps to catch his bearings, that would probably be enough to make me happy for this game. And then also just don't get blown out and completely embarrassed by a rookie quarterback led team that's trash. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. So who dat? And can I get a check, please?